Why would you want to plant native plants? When I first started studying native plants and working in that field, most of our reasoning why we want to plant native came down to, well, they're easy to grow. They're adapted to the local ecology, so they can, once you've planted them in the ground and watered them for every day, unless you're already in this, like, native plants are the best thing in the world kind of feeling, you're going to go, yeah, I mean, that's great and all, but they get these diseases, and their leaves look all ugly and stuff, and the insects come and chew on them. So I want to plant something that's not from here, and that way, all my leaves look pretty, and nothing's eating on my plants. Well, if nothing's eating your plants, I'm going to tell you right now, your yard is not taking part in ecology. Your yard is a sterile environment. And it was this book that changed the landscape, pun intended, of native plants in the landscape. This is the work of Dr. Doug Tallamy, an entomologist, a bug guy, studying the little critters, from University of Delaware. And this is his book, Bringing Nature Home. And his work as a doctor of entomology and a professor, and the work of all of his grad students, has changed the landscape of why we plant native plants. And it has spoken to us, and it has taught us. And the reasoning that he goes into in detail, as much detail as you want to get into with this, is that plants feed insects. And everything that people do, and we all do it, to feed the birds so that you can sit and watch the birds, so that you could listen to them sing. How many of us feed birds? And so what happens is, the sun hits the leaves, they make energy, and then insects eat those leaves, convert it into the energy of their bodies. Other critters come along and eat those things. Others eat those things. Others eat that. And suddenly we've got like the circle of life going on, like it's the Lion King or something. And that takes place everywhere. And the place it does not take place, that relationship of sunlight being transferred into the energy in an insect's body and into the energy of a baby bird that grows into an adult bird that comes and poops on your car. That circle of life does not occur in a privet bush. Mama and Papa bird are raising up a brood of 5 young chicks. How many times a day do you think they have to leave the nest to go get caterpillars? Anybody want to guess?
60.
60, right? Hundreds. And this is why I say bless the hearts of those grad students. Through this work, they have discovered that some nesting songbirds make 5,000 trips a day. 5,000 trips a day. Leaving the nest, flying, and eating a caterpillar, grabbing 2 or 3 of them, bringing them back, eating some themselves, feeding them to their babies, and then boom, they're off again. This is a lot of energy spent going and looking for food. So, if they're in that privet, or that not so heavenly bamboo, or the burning bush, or any of these non-native exotic plants that tend to dominate our landscape, like crepe myrtles, for the love of God. So if they're in that crappy myrtle nesting, sure, they have shelter and they have a place to build their nest, but they have to leave that crappy myrtle to go to a native plant, an oak tree or a phlox, to find food, to then bring it back. And when they have to leave a shrub or the shelter of a tree to fly across the yard, or if you live in a community of sterile lawns and crappy myrtles, then they have to fly out of that neighborhood to go find food. And the longer they're gone from the nest, the more chances their babies have of getting eaten by something. The longer they're traveling, the more energy they have to spend, making themselves have to take more trips. The longer they're out flying, the more at danger they are for predation, for something else coming in and snagging it up. And it just does not have to be that way, because you could turn your yard into an instant miniature wildlife sanctuary just by planting a goldenrod. But the goldenrod genus itself can support 147 different species of butterfly, and not coming to drink the nectar and the pollen, but to recognize the leaves as a good food for their caterpillars and their babies. So they recognize it because they evolved with it. And so they land on there, and they know when it's good food for their babies. They know when they've landed on a privet and they have to keep on going somewhere else, versus landing on a goldenrod and say, okay, this is going to be food for my babies, so they lay an egg onto it. You know, this relationship is very much getting a lot of good press and knowledge and education on it when it comes to monarch butterflies and the milkweeds. How many of us are growing milkweeds? Thank you. Good. So the monarch butterfly, this amazing, what we like to call charismatic mega insect, right? It's like the polar bear of butterflies. People love it. And so, and their populations crashed, and so we started planting milkweeds, because milkweed is the food for the caterpillars. It's the only thing that the monarch butterfly is going to recognize as a good place to lay its eggs. But when we plant plants for protecting that monarch butterfly, we also get to benefit all these other insects, and it's a great thing. So plant native plants to save baby birds.